We're going to get into it today on really analyzing some sustainable altcoins. Now, you probably don't use the term sustainability often, but it is something that matters now. According to Elon Musk, it's a big deal. It matters that these types of coins are not utilizing energy in the sense that, doesn't really necessarily match up with our environment. We do these market movers from time to time. And basically what we do here is we take data from a variety of sources. We then fly in some news stories. We bring in some analysts. We bring in opinion. Then we mesh it all together and we make a nice little omelet called a market mover. And hopefully it's going to help you on understanding where the market is going, whether it's tech, mainly, and of course, what we focus on, of course, is AI, EV, and overarching technology. But that's the main thing. The other thing that comes into play here is that, and I want to remind you all, is this is not investment advice. This is an educational and research package that is based on our own findings and options, the options we use to basically go out and do this research. We're not financial advisors, and we highly recommend you doing your own research and due diligence. Let's get started on where this is going to go today. Sustainable crypto breakdown. That's what we're going to do, is kind of take a look at who and what is out there in terms of sustainability when it comes to the crypto sphere. We'll talk about the hedge for Bitcoin, what key movers are in the space, and then where the future trends might lie on this. I want to jump into my first topic, and that is the sustainable crypto breakdown. This is an article that was done in research that was done by TRG Data Centers. Basically and this was done back in April, ironically, popular cryptocurrencies most environmentally friendly. If you look at their XRP up there, and this is basically in kilowatt hour consumed per transaction. So XRP dominating that at 0.0079 kilowatt hours, Dogecoin at 0.12, Cardano at 0.547, Litecoin coming in at 18.52, and then Bitcoin at 18.9. And then you see Bitcoin Cash coming in at 18.9, Ethereum at 62.56, very expensive. And then, of course, Bitcoin at 707 kilowatt hours per. So that is huge in comparison. Now, if you looked at Elon's tweet, basically what he was saying is we really want to utilize cryptocurrencies that are using less than 1%. So if the list is less than 1%, basically you have three coins, at least in this list, and that's going to be XRP, Dogecoin, and Cardano. I'm going to break down Cardano, Dogecoin, and a couple of others that meet this criteria of that less than 1% that Elon is basically putting in. The other thing that I want to kind of talk about is kind of how the community is holding on to the Dogecoin army. When you look at what Vitalik did, Vitalik being the founder of ETH, and basically his regift of unsolicited Doge knockoffs sends the meme coin prices plunging. And of course, this was a very interesting play in the fact that I think it supports the Doge army, which also plays back to what I'm talking about here in the sustainability aspect of it. Meaning you've got a lot of support from a lot of different areas of the industry other than just the Doge army. You've got people like Ethereum's founder really kind of jumping in on this. Let's look at the real projects here that kind of responded to Elon's tweet the other night that basically said, hey, wait a minute, me too. Our coin, our project has little or no environmental impact or carbon footprint. And you can kind of see, here's XRP, basically says, wait a minute, hey, XRP is coming up in here, consuming less energy than ETH and Bitcoin. And you can kind of see the comparison there in comparison at the 0.001 terawatts an hour, and then versus where ETH is and also where Bitcoin is. Then you see Algorand jumping in here and says, wait a minute, we already have basically a carbon negative blockchain. We've had Algorand on our show before. They talk a big game in terms of their technology, and I think their technology is a proving point and a proving ground of where this technology can go. And if you look at what Silvio is doing over there at Algorand, his mission and what he's trying to do in terms of really making these transactions, one, less impactful on all things, but also very low cost, which is going to be the key factor with where Algorand is going in terms of the future. The other thing, here's some more fuel on the fire for you, or fuel on the dumpster fire we have right now. And that is, here's one right here with Harmony, the Harmony protocol. We'd love to show you how Harmony is amazing tech and environmental consciousness, proof of stake, second finality, secure and random, state sharing, sharding, and so much more. So they're basically doing a ton of scenarios here. Nexo jumps in and says, hey, if you still want to buy Tesla after this rug pull, get a Bitcoin-backed credit line, and Nexo will give Elon Musk some inflation-written, value-eroding dollars to keep your Bitcoin. This is just so much fun to see this happening. And then, of course, KuCoin comes in and says, what's the most energy efficient in crypto? KuCoin Crypto Gem. And there you go, same kind of data that kind of jumps in to that. So there's a lot happening here in the space. I think a lot of you will understand, well, okay, what does this mean for me? Is this something that I can take and really kind of move into a space of where do I push my money? And also, maybe there's some opportunities here. And that is what I want you to think about today. So let's take a look at one. And this is my first one. I'm going to jump over to a TradingView chart real quickly. This is Cardano. And what I'm doing here on Cardano, and basically what I wanted to look at, and what we did on our sentiment analysis, many of you know we use Trade the Chain for a lot of the sentiment analysis on social media. Basically what they use or what they do is an NLP analysis of the traffic on Twitter around the aspect of that particular coin. So that if there's a lot of conversation, positive, negative sentiment, they can pull up a rating and give you kind of a score and go against that. I'm going to jump over here to Trade the Chain, and this is a good example of where they are showing their particular scenario. This is on Cardano's current market position, but I want to take a look here. So Cardano's trading, of course, it was up and down a little bit. The point is it's still showing very bullish and very bullish long term. You can also see what they've done here across the gambit. The difference here, I think, is when they're looking at sentiment. So I want to look right here. You can kind of see where my mouse is cursoring over for Cardano. I want to make a little bit of a highlight here in the sense of where the relative tweet volume is on Cardano. And let me zoom in on that just a little bit more, and we'll scan over to right here to Cardano. So you can kind of see it right here where I'm highlighting that on screen at 105% on relative tweet volume, and then relative trading volume at 167%. Now this, of course, is in line directly where with Cardano's pricing rise has happened today. This is very interesting. So it validates the point of sentiment analysis. In many cases, it's a little bit trailing. There are ways to utilize some of these tools to start to do predictive analytics on this stuff so that you can make a play in advance of where these trends are pushing to. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with our analysis. So here's our analysis over on TradingView. I just did some additional analysis to kind of jump in on this. And I want to kind of show you something here. Right here, so what we did is we added in a little bit of understanding on sentiment to go into layering in very specific keywords and terms around sustainability when its relationship was with Cardano, ADA. And when you look at it, if you look at this, and I want to zoom back out for a second, and I want to just show you the differences here. I'm going to highlight this one right here so you can see it a little bit better. And jump to a 32. As you can see there, back in what is March of 21, we saw sustainable sentiment. So we went backwards in time to see if Cardano had any kind of sustainable sentiment data in the conversations. And we found, yes, Cardano does. They actually have had the Cardano army that has already been tracking against this. So they had a 79.63, very high sentiment score when you look at this. And then I want to jump over here. We're going to zoom in on this one right here. I'm going to jump that one up to 32. Here's their sustainable sentiment score in April at 81.59. And then last night, the rise for Cardano, and then of course today, what we're seeing right now, and I'm going to jump up here, current is 83.82. Look at the track on this. This sentiment track right now, based on amplification. Let me say a little bit about amplification and what that means. Okay, so this is not mumbo gumbo to you. The sense is when you look at transactions in conversations, there's usually an amplification factor. I mean, you can start to Gantt it out based on historical mentions. Let's say you started with 100 tweets, the next hour is 200 tweets, the third hour is 300 tweets. There's your amplification. It's 100 tweets per hour. Okay, so basically you're using a math formula, an algorithm that basically analyzes this amplification. So what we did was we analyzed the amplification, and our scenario right here was very conservative. And I want to jump to this one right here on growth predictions. Now, Cardano's already eclipsed $2 today. The likelihood of it hitting 250 by June 1, remember, we're here in mid-May. This is probably 20 days away. It's very possible that Cardano could blow right past the 250, but we believe, based on this amplification that's happening around this swell of sustainable sentiment, sustainable-driven sentiment. What I mean again, and as a reminder, these are sustainable topics, people that are talking about sustainability, the impact on environment, all those key terms that we've been looking at for years can have an impact on that roll-up of where you get that Metcalfe effect on the node of the internet, and that is where you create that social effect on a particular coin or a particular topic. It's how something goes viral on YouTube. It's the same scenario, works the same way. Models work the same way. We're just dealing with cryptocurrencies here instead of a YouTube video or instead of a stock that typically can happen out on the open market. So you can kind of see where we're going with this. I want to zoom in on this right here. I wanted to look at this track right here of where we're heading on sustainability as layer one. We popped in another key set of terms, and you can kind of just see here that basically Cardano's rise is actually outperforming right here at time of recording, outperforming the actual sustainable sentiment. It dips into the sustainable sentiment array here. It's pointing right up in it. And then right in here, you're getting about the same amount of potential for what Cardano could be doing. So is Cardano the potential growth factor coin here? Still questionable. So it's not one that I would say absolutely rule out that could potentially play into this. And I don't necessarily think Tesla is going to say tomorrow, well, we're going to take any, one of 4 or 5 coins in lieu of Bitcoin while we figure out what we're going to do in the crypto space. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I still believe that Doge is probably going to be the winner there in the short term. Believe me, that will be a headline in itself, which will drive Doge. That's another topic, which I'm going to break down Doge for you here as well. Now let's go over here to Algorand. I want to jump over to the trading view on Algorand. Same scenario here. And I did the same thing with Algorand and looked back into what is February on their last big jump. Looked back on sustainability, and you have to understand what Algorand's program, the Algo coin, is and what they're trying to do with it. The sustainable sentiment, again, low carbon footprint in what they believe is zero or negative carbon neutral position for their project, really gets into some very interesting data here. And I want to jump in and drop this a little higher so you can see it. Sentiment coming in at 89.61. This is one of the most highly rated projects when it comes to sustainability around the people that follow that project. So, which is very important to that army, which starts to get into that whole Metcalfe's law. You also look at the next one, which was on April 15th. Right here was their next high. Actually, was April 17th, right here. And the sustainability rate on their sentiment was 88.33. Again, staying very high, dropping a little bit from their previous high back in February, right here, February 12th, right here. So you can kind of look at this as a potential opportunity for Algorand. Now let's move on over to where they are today and where that sentiment lies right now. So let's jump over here. I'm going to pop that up where you can see it a little bit better. Sustainable sentiment at 91.42. So just in this short period of time, we've seen a massive spike in Algorand's sustainable sentiment data. Now this is taking, as I said, a subset of the sentiment data and looking at only areas around sustainability, mentions, conversations, etc., that make you think and start to understand that this is a project that really leans itself toward a really interesting position. Again, here we are on May 13th. Algorand is on its rise, even though it had been tumbling over the past few days, and now it's taken a nice little pop up. Likelihood is Algorand is going to be a beneficiary of what is happening in this space, and probably going to put a big light on Silvio's project there, because it's going to be one, I think, that really starts to unveil probably mini coins and mini projects that are kind of going in this direction, which I think is where the mainstream press is going to be rolling. You're going to start seeing mainstream press response to this because it's so unique and foreign. It's likely that all they're doing right now is you're just getting headlines. What we're trying to do is break down the potential future opportunities that lie here for you. And again, just remember, this is not investment advice. What we're doing is giving you the data to be able to go out and do your own research and kind of move into that space. So let's continue on here. Algorand was one. Now I want to jump into Doge, and this one gets really intriguing. And let's show this slide real quick, because this is a slide that we presented on another video, just to kind of show you the sentiment rank and where Doge is moving since the Elon move. And this one is very interesting as well. I want to jump over here now to the trading view chart. Sustainable sentiment came in at 49.61. All right, so you're like, wait a minute, Paul, that's like ridiculously low. How could that be? The Doge army, you know, we love. The fact is that Doge is one of those things that is a coin or anything. It doesn't matter if it's an NFT or a pop song. It is one of those things that people will, they click on the headlines, they follow the news, they buy, they don't even look at the rumor. People in general are lazy. They don't look at the depth behind these things, and they just follow it, and it just goes blindly into that market. That's the Doge army. It's not that they are blind. It's just that they are following something they believe is a bigger mission, and it's not about sustainability. It's about basically supplanting the monetary system and the man. That's where Doge is. It's more of the GameStop crowd. So that in itself is that Doge was at 49.61. Now, something very interesting happened over the night. And that is now on Doge, the search queries, and again, we're back here now on sustainable sentiment at 71.24. This is the largest jump in sustainable sentiment of all of the altcoins combined. When you look at the numbers in which, when I say combined, meaning when you look at where they are going, their jump between their previous sustainability traffic and where they are going right now. It was just a different kind of look at Doge. So this really starts to look, and this is where it gets kind of interesting right here on this chart, because this goes into that. Look at the arc in which we're trying to ramp Dogecoin. Now, right now, it's on a flat line right here, as you can see, trading at, looks like 39 cents. So this is a very interesting element right here, and I want to get into my Doge prediction, and I've talked about this before. I've got one video out on it already. Is again, this is moving into one of those things where Doge potentially has a $10 potential opportunity here. This is one of those things, I think, as we see this roll up, here's going to be the factor, and it's the thing I talk about in the Doge video, and I've had many discussions on this before, and that is that something critical has to happen. Well, step one occurred with Elon. Step one was we need to supplant Bitcoin because we have this concern on environmental impact. Step two is we need to select a less than 1%. And, Doge happens to fall in that less than 1%. Step three is you have to have love affair with it. You've got to have all these nuances and these statements that have been kind of flowed throughout the industry where Elon has been talking about Doge. And I think the next step is where Elon says, okay, we're going to start taking Doge, or we're going to start utilizing Doge in a different capacity. If that occurs, that is, of course, the position. So this is definitely a hedge and a speculative play for Doge to be looking at a potential rise here in the next few weeks and or months. So lots happening in the space. So you've got Cardano, Algorand, Doge. Let's go into where all of this might flow at the end of the day. ADA, and I want to kind of just look at the projections here. ADA is going to spike on the rise in research and sustainable coins. This, of course, will roll out as George starts to move things into Alonzo and really kind of get the smart contracts into play. I think that'll start to reduce the transaction fee. Obviously, it was going to reduce the transaction fees on ADI and all of the ETH ecosystem, which if you look at what, Charles Hoskinson is talking about, he really goes into a whole layer of where the ETH, the whole ecosystem is going to live, where ADA will eventually go. The other thing, I think Algo is the sleeper here. I think this is one of those coins that is going to get a lot of press and probably end up looking really good to potential investors as they start to be concerned about these things from an environmental impact. Point is that all coins are going to have their day in the sun. Now, will it hold for a long period of time? I am not quite so sure. If you get a chance, make sure and check out my previous video or my video on this, talking about where Tesla's master crypto plan is going, because I still feel that Bitcoin is the alpha dog and it will continue to be the alpha dog. The question is who's going to be mining it, where are they going to be mining it, and how will it have an impact? So this could be a short-term play for those crypto traders out there that are really looking to go into the altcoin space. There's a lot of opportunities, but guess what? The number one thing you're going to be looking at right now is probably carbon neutrality and sustainability in altcoins, which is the most ironic thing when you look at some of these projects. It's been something they've been all about for many months or years. But some of these newer projects, this is something new to them that maybe they weren't even really camping on as a big part of it. Though I think just with the awareness around Bitcoin mining in general and trying to get to zero on a carbon neutral position, they kind of had to play in that game. So I think that's where they definitely were going. And then I think Doge is going to make its run at a potential to $10. And this is going to be an absolute insane move if Doge can make that. Here's the key. One key and one key only really has to play into this, and that is Tesla has to simply say they're going to accept Doge. If they do, Doge will make its run. The likelihood it's going to have a nice ramp up to that, and this is going to be the kicker that's going to take that thing to the moon, in a reference of where altcoins will be. But I do think Cardano, Algorand, XRP, many others are poised in a position where they could make a run at potentially some major gains in the space. Digital currencies and digital assets are absolutely on fire right now, and it's really an interesting time as you start, whether you're looking at investing, learning about this, educating yourself, or really kind of just starting to understand where the market is moving. The point is that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. You can see it last night with the fact that Elon can move markets like that, in a sense that it becomes a global phenomenon in a period of 12 hours and move the amount of monetary capitalization in such a short period of time. It's absolutely stunning. So if you are under a rock right now and you just came out, you have come out at a good time. This is an interesting time in which you can start to really move in that direction. If you're listening to this show on our podcast, make sure and give us a rating. This is how we get feedback from you. It's also how we get understandings on what you'd like to maybe have on the show, listen and or watch. If you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure and share this video. This is one of the best ways and one of the best things you can do is sharing the video and liking it. And of course, always subscribe. That's the number one way you can help us out on the channel. If you have an idea for a show and you'd like us to cover something here, to a depth like what we've done here today with altcoins and kind of that carbon neutrality position and looking at data in a different way, send us a note to producer@reverendnetworks.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter @PaulBaron. Always great to see you guys. Stay safe out there, and hopefully we don't get any more meltdowns today. So we'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.